Welcome back to Dash Reviews, where I buy and test stuff so you don't have to. Today we're looking at the JSOX mod case with cooling fan attachment for the Steam Deck. First up is the mod case. The box is nothing special, just some basic box that says Elite Accessories for Steam Deck. Kinda wish you would say mod case on the box because that sounds a lot cooler, but anyways. In the box you get the case itself, a hard shell cover, a watch band style battery strap, a detachable metal stand, and a protective skin for your dock. The overall design is quite nice. It has a full wraparound design with a good diamond shaped grip that holds but isn't uncomfortable. Everything that can be protected pretty much is. If you're like me and bought the transparent backplate, the back of the case is also partially transparent so you can still see through to your Steam Deck. The kickstand is a sturdy metal that will hold at slightly different angles and is removable. In normal use you won't need to remove the kickstand, but depending on the accessory that you get, it may get in the way. If you decide to use the included battery strap with the kickstand installed, keep in mind that you will not be able to use the kickstand as intended with the battery pack. Speaking of the battery strap, it's a nice addition. It attaches to whatever battery you want to use, just as you would think. But with a little engineering, the straps can actually be taken off and the attachment part can be attached to the battery separately. I think it's pretty awesome that they included a cover for the official Steam Deck dock if you got it. It alleviates any instance of it not fitting with a new case by widening where the Steam Deck sits. Last but not least, the hard shell. This, for whatever reason, is the coolest part of this case for me. I know I can attach a fan, an M.2, and a hub to the back of this case, but something about having a protective hard shell in front of this is just awesome. It fits well, snaps right into place, has a pad for the screen that gives it a little bit extra cushion, and keeps the joysticks from getting damaged. Not to mention that it also covers the bumpers and triggers almost completely. It makes me only want to transport my Steam Deck with just this case. And it makes it possible if you already have a dedicated bag for your Steam Deck and don't want to use the carrying case with it. I've actually thrown it in my backpack a couple times and not really worried about it at all because of that. Now for the fan. The fan can be attached with or without the case thanks to the included fan attachment plate, which is nice because it doesn't cause you to have to buy one to get the other, and I appreciate that. Using the attaching back plate works just as you would expect. Just pull off the adhesive strip, line up the vent, and press it into place. It's solid and won't go anywhere unless you yank it off. But there's something about attaching the fan to the mod case that just feels complete. When it's on, it's on. There's no looseness and it feels like it's part of the case. I like the fact that it has its own rechargeable battery and doesn't rely on the Steam Deck for power. But this thing is loud. Sure, you can turn it on to the lowest setting and it'll be quiet, but that's not what you got it for in the first place. You got it to cool down your Steam Deck, and in order to do so, you have to turn this thing on full blast. Doing so causes it to sound like a jet engine, which doesn't bother me because it's doing what it's supposed to be. The only other issue I have with the fan aside from the noise is the fact that there is no good way to travel with it. It doesn't fit in the carrying case, so it has to be packed separately, and if you're someone that likes to be portable with it and only carry as little as possible, this may be a problem. Now of course we had to test its cooling capabilities, so here we go. I was going to test it on grid, but for whatever reason it kept on crashing on me. Pun completely intended. Now because I'm a Dragon Ball nerd and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot tends to get the fan going pretty hardcore on the Steam Deck, I'm going to use that to test it out. The test settings are as follows. A training mission with Whis running docked at 1080p at the highest graphical settings with an ambient air temperature of about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep in mind that I also have the transparent backplate installed. So with all that in mind, my GPU temperatures hovered around 76 to 77 degrees Celsius, while my CPU temperatures were around 79 to 80 degrees Celsius. The highest frames per second was about 31, with the lowest being 7 because Whis decided to throw the entire universe at me. Before I restarted the fight, I installed the cooling fan, and that instantly brought the CPU temperature from 80 degrees Celsius to about 77 degrees Celsius before the fight even started. With the cooling fan on full blast, the GPU temperatures dropped from about 74 degrees Celsius to 67 degrees Celsius. The CPU dropped from 76 degrees Celsius to 71 degrees Celsius, with the frames per second staying about the same, with the lowest at 7 and the highest at 35, still with the mid-20s being the normal throughout the fight. Now because I had to, and I had it, I put on my magnetic foam radiator to help with cooling to see how much better the performance would get with both that and the cooling fan going. Having both of those in combination with the transparent backplate, the GPU temperature dropped with the highest being 66 degrees Celsius to 62 degrees Celsius. The CPU temperature dropped with the highest being 69 degrees Celsius to 67 degrees Celsius. Frames per second went from the lowest being 8 to the highest being 42, staying around mid 20s and 30s for the most of the fight, and that was way more playable. Now just lowering the resolution to 720p with all the accessories still on, the GPU dropped even further with the highest being 63 degrees Celsius and the lowest being 59 degrees Celsius. The CPU dropped to about 67 degrees Celsius with the lowest being 62 degrees Celsius. With frames per second being between 18 at the lowest and 62 at the highest, hovering around mid 40s the entire time. So there's definitely a performance boost, but it really just depends on how much stuff you want to hook up to your Steam Deck. I like the idea of all of this having an effect if it was my main computer, but I prefer to keep it my handheld powerhouse, so you won't be seeing me water cooling it or adding any more accessories to it if I don't have to. I will say, however, if you decide to play your Steam Deck outside in a temperature that's less than optimal heat-wise, having the fan as a backup cooling system is always a good idea. So do I recommend this? Sure, depending on how you plan to use your Steam Deck. This is all case by case, but for the price, it's not bad. If you're interested in the case and the cooling fan, you can find a link for both of them in the description below. That's going to do it for this one. If you get this case, let me know what you think about it, or any other good modifications you can think of for the Steam Deck. God bless, and don't forget, you are awesome. I'll see you on the next one.